How's it going, YouTube? op.poker James here. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to everyone recently who've been hitting the like button and subscribing. It's really good to see that YouTube channel is growing quite a lot at the moment. I guess a lot of people are enjoying spin and goes during these hard times. So I really want to say a thank you to everyone. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and like the video if you'll enjoy it. So it's session review time today. We've got a player on the €1 spin and goes on PokerStars. I'm guessing that would mean that they're on the French, Spanish kind of network. I think it's Portuguese as well. So we're going to jump in and see what these games are like. I presume they'll be pretty similar, but maybe they will be different. I guess we'll find out. Okay, so first off, when it comes down to the Euro games, I do have a bit of experience playing on Winamax. I used to play there when I was in Slovenia. The games were primarily French players, so I presume the pool will be fairly similar to that. If there was a difference between the .com player pool on Stars and the French pool, I guess it was that the French were a little bit more aggressive, but not too dissimilar. So we're already first hand in, and let's just go straight back. Very first hand, we've got a button limp. That's always a good sign. At this point, I would immediately mark them as recreational. Don't really know many spin and go regs that try and limp from the button, so you can just make that note, and maybe 1 in 100 times they actually are a good player, but for the most part, you're going to be fine. The Queen 9 is kind of interesting because you do have an open-ended straight draw, but they did bet pot. You've got a player to act behind you, so I don't mind the fold at all. 5-4 suited. You're thinking about limping, okay. I mean the fold. Maybe if you do have a limping range here, I'd like if you were to cut it out. I think just min raising or folding simplifies things a lot. It's what you should be doing anyway. You could actually do some shoves as well when you get a bit shorter. Let's say about 20 big blinds. You can start shoving some of the low pocket pairs, for example. But yeah, I think you want to keep it nice and simple. Jack 9 suited. Okay, let's see how we play this. I don't mind if you ISO raise. I don't mind if you check back. My default would be to check back, so I like it. It's a monotone board and it's been checked to you. Now, you haven't hit this board at all, so you've got to decide what kind of hands would you want to bluff here. Now, if you've got a low spade, you probably want to try and get some showdown on it. If you've got a high spade, you can be almost betting for value. If you've got a top pair or good middle pair and no spade, you probably want to protect your hand. So looking at the entire range, a hand like Jack 9 could be used as a bet, but you need to make sure you don't bet too often with these hands that just haven't hit at all. So you just got to decide for yourself what kind of hands do you want to be bluff betting here. I think this kind of hand I'd prefer to check behind. And let's say a non-spade 8 comes out, things like that, then I would start betting. Let's see what you do. You check, good. So yeah, let's say this was the 8 of hearts instead. I would definitely think about staying in the pot, either calling or raising, probably calling, and then bluffing if we missed on the river and they checked. But yeah, once they've bet on a 6 of hearts turn, we've got trash. Let's just fold it. I see you're using a Holder Manager free HUD. You're not going to get many stats off people when you're playing $1 spins. I don't know how big the player pool is on the French pool, but if it's anything like on the .com pool, you're not going to get many hands on people, so it's almost not worth having. You can end up relying too heavily on stats. I know pretty much everyone I know of that uses a HUD starts to get a bit lazy with note taking. They start to get a bit lazy about seeing what people show down their hands with. So try and avoid that if you can. But what we have seen quite clearly is this player on the button has been doing all sorts of large and small sizings, so they're going to be quite erratic. Someone you want to get to play post flop against, I think. We've got another monotone board. I like that you limped from the small blind, and I don't mind the check fold. I think it's just going to be very hard to play. 9-6 here, I would definitely look to play. I don't know if you noticed, but your opponent in the big blind decided to sit out. So when you've got a sit out in the big blind and you've got a player that's in the small blind, you almost want to treat it as though you're playing just heads up. Now it's slightly different because you're not paying anything, so you don't have to play the weaker hands knowing that you've already paid a small blind. You haven't invested anything yet, so just look at it more as you're trying to win 0.5. Let's say you're trying to win 10 chips as a big blind and 20 chips as an ante. So you're playing a big ante game. How do you play in those spots? Generally speaking, you're going to want to be playing a little bit tighter, but not much. So yeah, if you just played it like a heads up game, I think you'd be doing better than most people. So 9-6 is definitely something I'd want to play. Either limp or raise, doesn't really matter. They've immediately sat back in, and we've got another player who's not min raising from the button. Again, I'd just make the right click, label them as a recreational player. If they are 2.5xing and you shove on them and they fold, you can start getting really shove happy on them, and they're just going to be giving you extra chips. So very nice spot. Ace 8, I do like the shove here. We've seen CHP Tat be playing a lot of hands so far, so yeah, I like that. It's a good hand. 8-7, yeah, good fold. It's definitely looking like a quite passive table at the moment. There's been an occasional big bet, but overall getting to showdowns a lot and getting to see turns for cheap. So what do we get from that hand? We get sorry, I'm doing a terrible job here. We get that this player was limping for 8 and didn't bet the flop and didn't bet the turn. So we know that they're probably not bluffing too often until rivers. So we know that if they check to the river and then make a river stab, we'd probably want to call if we have any kind of bluff catcher. And then on flops and turns, they're probably not betting enough bluffs in those spots. So an ace queen free board is quite a nice one actually to bet on the flop. But if you don't, if you check it and they check behind, the turn is a really good card to bet because you've got the gut shot. You're never going to win with 8 high. They've already kind of said to you that they haven't really hit so far. 7-6 might fold. They might call because they got the gut shot, but I think a lot of things that your opponent would have would fold. I don't think 7-6 did anything weird, so we're just looking at the 4-8 play. So yeah, we're just noticing that they're pretty passive, and if they are going to bluff, they wait till the river to do it. I like the fold. Ace queen, we're going to want to be getting this in. Just a shove, I think, would be the only play here. I would advise most people when you get into a 7 big blinds deep, small blind versus big blind, free-handed, just play push or fold. You don't really like playing out of position there, so that when you're getting that short, just keep things simple, play push or fold. You could play a few more hands if you've got a lot of notes on your opponent. So let's say your opponent is very tight, then you can min raise a lot. Or let's say you've got an opponent that is very passive pre-flop. The easiest way to know that is if you've limped once before and they've had an absolute monster, for example, ace king off or ace jack suited or hands like that, and you get to see them at showdown, and when you've limped they didn't raise pre-flop. Once you get a note like that on someone, that's a really good way that you can start limping and playing wider ranges yourself. So in the spot where you don't want to be pushing a hand, so just there ace queen obviously want to push, but let's say you got like a borderline hand like jack 6, right, or 9-5 off, things like this, 9-6 off, that you don't really want to shove, but you wouldn't mind playing against someone who's going to let you see a free flop, then you can just limp. Or if they're folding a lot, you can just min raise them, and you can min raise all the trash as well. If you've got someone who's just far too tight, occasionally you're going to get these opponents that don't normally play spin and goes. They're used to playing 9-handed tournaments, so they're playing way too tight, and you can just steal their blinds really easily. But you only want to do that once you know that about your opponent. And to be honest, you're not going to get that unless you're getting over 100 hands on the HUD. You won't notice until you get over 100 hands, I would say. So if you're in player pools where you are getting that kind of sample on people, then you can make those kind of adjustments. But for the most part on PokerStars, at least the .com player pool, you're not going to get that until you're playing, I think, the hundreds, really. Okay, we got the limp. We got queen 2, the bet, good stuff. Okay, so they've been limping and now they're free Xing from the button. So they're raising 3 times the big blind or limping, doing all sorts of stuff. Queens, I like the min raise. You want to play against these players post flop. They've been pretty passive so far. Nice spot to be in. Daily quads, very nice, good stuff. Heads up now. Okay, we get to be heads up against a player that so far has been wanting to play a lot of hands and being quite aggressive, and you immediately get ace 10 against ace 9. That seems pretty good. Can we finish him off now? That's the question. I would have given it a try to limp a hand like 10-3 off. Now, I don't mind that you didn't do it here because he's just lost a big pot. Some players, especially on low stakes, once they've lost a big pot, they get really angry, like really tilted very fast and just start getting shove happy. But from what we've seen so far, they haven't been that overly aggressive pre-flop. They've liked limping buttons, right? They like to see flops. So if you know someone likes to see flops, then you can play wider and limp more. So even a hand like 10-3 off, I'd give it a try at least. We get the fold, that's nice. 7-8 off, you can shove. Yeah, I think that's the right play. Could limp, I wouldn't say that's bad. 8-9 off. I think it's okay to fold against this opponent because we still think even this shallow we've got an edge. But and from what we've seen, they've been very bet big or limp, so I think their shoving range is going to be a bit stronger than it should be. I'm not going to say it's a bad call at all, but I'm saying that when you kind of get in that feeling from your opponent that if they've got a mediocre or weak hand, they're either going to fold or limp, and then if they've got a strong hand, they're going to shove, just straight up shove, then you don't need to call anywhere near like the Nash call ranges. You can tighten up a bit. So I personally don't mind that you were thinking of folding. I probably would have folded here. I'm just kind of hoping that they're far too tight from the small blind and that we can play post flop and just wreck them in other pots. But hey, you had 36% there, so it wasn't terrible. You'd already put a big blind in there. I only had 5 big blinds left. But yeah, you had a nice soft game. 2 recreationals, both playing in a way that you can gain a lot of information on them pretty quickly. Now the question is, should you be taking notes here or not? If you think you're going to run into them again, at least 2 or 3 times more, then I think it's worth taking notes in these spots. However, if these player pools are just like the .com PokerStars player pool, I would just make the label system. So I would have labeled them both recreational. I think it's really important to do, even in big pools, because yeah, occasionally you'll see them and it didn't take you too long. And you never know, maybe a few months down the line when you've moved up in stakes, you'll find them up there as well, which happens a lot. When I was doing the bankroll challenge for $30 into 30k, I was playing a lot of like $10 spins, like that kind of region. I marked all these people as recreationals, and then occasionally I will see them in tournaments and cash games and really high stakes spin and goes when I'm observing. they're there donking away. So yeah, you can find them elsewhere, so it's worth taking the note, because if they're playing bad here, they're nearly always playing bad in other games as well. All right, it was quite an interesting one, especially seeing a pool of games that we don't have here in the UK. We can't play on this site. If you have any questions, or you can give me any more information about what the Spanish, French, Portuguese site is like, what is the player pool like, please let me know in the comments down below. Is there as many regs? Are the games softer? How's just general thoughts on it? That would be cool. And if you are interested, we also have a Discord channel where we can talk more about that. We've got a spin general thread, we got a spin hand histories thread as well. So let's say you're getting some interesting hand histories, you can come and put them over there. We've got a hand history converter for Discord. That means you can paste it in, and plenty of willing and able players that can help you out, including myself. So yeah, that was a interesting session. The next session we will be doing, which will come out soon, will be on spin and go maxes. Now I don't know if you're aware, I do stream occasionally on Twitch. Recently I have been playing some spin and go maxes. I have to say it hasn't really gone well at all, but a friend of ours and fellow YouTuber Bobby Winger will be doing, he did a spin and go max that he wants me to review. I said okay, but please be forewarned, I haven't really won much on them yet. I'm pretty sure we will be winning in the long term, but it's a very, very high variance game. So yeah, thanks all for watching. See you later.